All right, it is time for some flock updates. I know I haven't uploaded anything in a couple months, so there are a few different things that happened since then that I am gonna update you guys on. So one of the big events is that I moved into a new apartment. As you can tell from my background, it looks different from the videos that I had before. So I have been in this apartment since June. I'm very excited and I redid the whole setup, and we will do a tour on that later. But besides that, I do have a couple other updates about specific members of the flock. So both cockatiels are doing great. Gandalf and Sydney have really bonded well with each other. They are not a pair bonded couple, but they have just slowly begun to recognize each other as conspecifics more and more. And so they are flocking together quite well. Sydney's flying is definitely improving. She's starting to be able to perch and land on more precise perches, like on top of the TV or on different tree stands. So that's been super exciting. Now, a lot of you guys know that for the last quite a bit of time, I've had 3 female budgies. I had Fitzy, Tritsy, and Eva. So Fitzy had been with me the longest time. She was almost 10 years old by the time she passed away. She passed away back right before Christmas of 2023 from mycobacteria. She got that mycobacteria from a budgie named Callie, who I adopted almost 2 years prior. So that left me with Eva and Tritsy. Eva and Tritsy were best buds. I mean, best buddies. But one of the great challenges of this was that Tritsy, you can actually still see her behind me, so Tritsy had a pretty long list of health issues. She had the health issues when she came to me. She was almost 4.5, 5 years old when I adopted her, and I'm her 3rd family. But she never could fly, and it wasn't until actually recently that I took her to the vet. We decided to do x-rays, and we saw that she actually has pretty severe arthritis in both her shoulders and her hips, and that explains why she never could fly. We're not sure how she developed this arthritis so early in life to such a degree of severity, but it explains a lot about why she could never fly. Now, during that same visit, because we decided to take an x-ray, what the vet also saw was a growth in her bone that looks very much like mycobacteria. This is a tricky thing because we knew that Callie had spread it around and then passed it to Fitzy. And then Fitzy, when she was passing away from mycobacteria, she also was shedding it in the environment. So that means that all of the rest of the flock was also exposed to that mycobacteria and potentially could have contracted it. And this is honestly a big part of why I haven't adopted any more budgies since then, because any budgie that I bring in, if another budgie starts to shed that mycobacteria, now the new budgie is basically being exposed to that disease. So I already had a bunch of plans in mind. You know, Tritsy had a bunch of metabolic issues, had also the arthritis. Now potentially we see the mycobacteria. I did test her for whether she's shedding it in the feces, and she wasn't shedding it yet, but it's basically a matter of time. So I originally thought, okay, she and Eva are getting along well, really well together. I was like, you know what? Eva seems healthy. Let's just manage her with pain meds long term, and let's see. I thought her quality of life was still pretty good, so let's just manage this for as long as we can. One of the things I really didn't expect to happen, though, that completely derailed this plan of mine, because I very much expected Tritsy to decline naturally first. But one thing I didn't expect was about a month ago, I woke up on a Friday morning and Eva was at the bottom of the cage and was very sick. So I rushed her to the ER. There basically was nothing we could do at that point. We don't know exactly what happened because the necropsy service was closed for 3 weeks that period of time. So I also didn't get a necropsy and any explanation of what happened, but the long and the short of it is basically that she passed away very acutely. That was kind of problematic because now it leaves me with Tritsy as a single budgie. She social eats and does all these parallel activities with the 2 cockatiels, and that's totally fine, but her health issues continue to decline. And now with Eva gone, her quality of life is starting to get questionable. And actually you can see her behind me. She's beginning to have what I notice is more and more bad days and less good days. So actually you can probably see her. She's probably doing it right now. Yeah, do you see that behavior that she does? She basically just sits there hunched over, like she's not spending a lot of time being active, being social. She got along really well with Sydney. Sydney does very well with her, but she's just not very active anymore. And I think even though maintaining her on meds long term, it's just not doing a very good job. And increasingly, I'm just seeing her quality of life decrease. If she was healthy and didn't have all those metabolic issues, I think she would have been fine, honestly, even as a single budgie, just to socialize with the cockatiels. But I think her health issues are beginning to get to that point because right now she's, I think, somewhere between 6.5 and 7 years old. I mean, she's not super old for a budgie, but she's not young either. The average age for a budgie nowadays is 5 to 7 years. That's a little bit low because in general they're averaging on birds who are on all seed diets and not doing so well. But even then, you know, a budgie can live 10 to 15 years with good care, good genetics, and low disease risk and exposure. 7 years old is still not super young anymore. So this is one of the most difficult decisions I've had to make. I have euthanized animals in the past, but typically those are situations where, for example, like Eva, when we went to the hospital, the veterinarian said that this bird is not even stable. Like, we could not even stabilize her. So either we do nothing and she'll likely pass in the next 2 to 3 hours, or we euthanize her now. So most of my past euthanasia decisions were more like that, where I didn't really have a choice. It's, you know, either I euthanize her now or we're talking about 6 hours from now. So it's just a matter of minimizing their suffering. But I've actually never had to make a decision like this where there still were a good hour, a good 2 hours here or there, but increasingly, actually you can probably see, like, as I've been talking this entire video, she basically hasn't moved. So she's increasingly just having bad days. So I originally gave myself until the end of the month, meaning August, to schedule an appointment and take her in. And as you can see, today is September 4th and she's still here. Because I think emotionally, this is probably the most difficult one I've had to face, because like I said, in the past, it was kind of out of my hands, right? Like, with Fitzy, she was already way declined past the point where we could keep her stable. We knew she was not able to recover. If we didn't intervene, she would be likely pass on her own within 24 hours, right? So with Eva, it was even shorter. It was probably within the next 3 to 6 hours. So in both cases, I never really got a choice. But here with Tritzy, it's, in a lot of ways, she's not immediately going to pass away within the next few hours. You know, she could probably live for weeks or months like this, but the question is she really having a nice quality of life? And increasingly, before I was still kind of on the fence, but now increasingly day by day, I'm seeing that she's just not living a nice life anymore. So this is one of the most difficult discussions that we have as budgie people. You know, at what point is their quality of life not good enough anymore for us to justify continuing to medically fight for them? But for her, with her medical issues, because of the issues that they are, there's not really any treatment or cure. It's just a matter of time. So at some point during the next 2-3 weeks, I will muster up the emotional courage to do it, because I think at this point I'm primarily holding on for me. Yeah. So those are the major updates. I know it's a little bit sad. That's probably not what you guys wanted to hear after all of these months. But after Tritzy passes away, that will actually leave me with only 2 cockatiels and no budgies. So my plan is to finally adopt more budgies. One of the things I've been wanting to do for a long time is foster and adopt budgies, because a lot of people want to adopt budgies, but it's that initial hump of getting over the training and the diet conversion. That learning curve is really, really steep, and that's what's holding a lot of budgies back from getting a home. So something that I wanted to do was adopt some budgies, train and adopt out, or foster some budgies, train and adopt out. But the other thing that I want to do is get more budgies so that I can have a flock of budgies again. I set out to have budgies because I like budgies. No offense against the cockatiels, they're super cute, but I would like to have myself some more budgies. So that's probably what you'll be seeing from me in the future. I'm going to be looking to adopt some budgies, for my permanent flock, but also adopt some budgies to foster and train and adopt out so that more birds can get a home, because there are a lot of qualified homes out there who want to be able to and are able to care for these animals, but it's just that initial training and diet conversion that's particularly difficult. All right, that's all the updates that I have for now. If you have any questions, leave them down below, and I'm excited to be back and chatting with you guys and answering more questions. Next videos, we will do tours of the new setup.